Wait a minute, just before we start this review, let's just stop real fast. Let's address something. This movie should not be called Room. It shouldn't. It should not be called Room. How about this? Brie Larson's character is named Joy. Let's call it Joy. We could do that, but we had a Joy the year this movie came out, so we can't call it Joy. How about this? We give it two titles. How about that? We give it two titles. We give it in the first half of the movie, we call it Room for the first half. But the second half, we gotta call it Jack. For Jacob Tremblay, who played Jack, and he was spectacular. In my opinion, and which probably is a fact, he should have got nominated for an Oscar. Jacob Tremblay was awesome. This film starts off with them being in the room, and it's little Jack's 5th birthday. And with me not having kids, as soon as I seen that, I automatically appreciated not having kids. Both of them, they wake up, they look dirty. Their hair is long, their hair looks dirty, and the movie does a really good job showing the size and just how small this room is. And when you hear the title, you don't know what they are in. You don't know if they're in some type of just a room, or you don't know if they're in some type of bunker. But the movie starts off very well, showing you actually what they're in and what's inside it. They got clothes hung up. It's a dinner table. It's like a tub. It's pretty much everything you need in this. It's pretty much like a prison cell, how small this room is. So with it being Jack's 5th birthday, they both make a cake, and then at the end of the night, the one thing I could remember, in the morning when they woke up, they both woke up in the same bed. But this night, like a few more nights as I go along with this review, she puts them to bed in a closet. And then a man comes by, and Brie Larson starts having sex with a man. Right there, I wanted to know, who is that guy? I thought they were locked off from the world. But this guy continues to come back night and night and night, over and over again. Soon as her watch goes off, it's kind of like Will Smith in I Am Legend. She puts him to bed in the closet, and he's not supposed to come out. So I automatically... I was intrigued. Who is this guy? So pretty much in a typical day, they exercise for what they could. They little Jack run back and forth. They do arts and crafts. And then Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay, they scream into the sky and scream and scream and scream. Little Jack has no reason why they're screaming. He doesn't know why they're screaming. Only Brie Larson knows why they're screaming to the sky. So this guy, old Nick, and Brie Larson, Joy, they sit down, and he tells her that he lost his job. She kind of gets upset about it because of the supplies and what he brings in. Every night he comes in to have sex with her, he brings in supplies, and now he's saying that there's going to be less and less supplies. So she gets upset. They have at it. He gets mad at her. He cuts off the electricity. So with that, she comes up with the idea that she would just tell him that next time that little Jack has a fever, and hope for him to bring little Jack to the hospital. In the meantime, between her coming up with this idea and old Nick coming back, she ends up telling little Jack about what actually is outside this confinement that they're in. And as any 5-year-old kid, or pretty much any person that was born in this room, the movie never touches on that. So I'm assuming that he was born in this room until his 5th birthday. So you can totally see where no one would believe there is something more outside. There's more to the world than just this inside the room, because she never tells him that. She tells him stories. Everything she tells him is pretty much fabricated, but she then starts to tell him the truth and tells him that she actually has a name. Her name is just not Maj, that she had a life with parents before this. She has been locked in this room for 7 years now. So our friend old Nick comes back. He asks why is he not locked into the closet, and not when I say locked in, she doesn't actually lock him in. She just closes the door. He wondered why is he in the bed. She said he's sick. Can you take him to the hospital? Old Nick asks about some medication that she was supposed to give him, but she did not. So old Nick leaves, and then between the time he leaves, she comes up with the idea that she will now have a plan that little Jack is dead. So they come up with this plan. So she comes up with this plan for little Jack to play dead, and that she will wrap him in a rug. When old Nick comes back, she will then tell him that he died. So then from that point of Nick leaving to the point that Nick comes back, they go over and over and over the plan of little Jack rolling out of the rug, jumping out of old Nick's truck, and running and seeing the first person he sees. So little Jack takes all this in, and at first he really didn't want to do this because he could not get out of the rug. So he then actually gets successful with getting out of the rug. So old Nick comes back. She's crying, and Brie Larson was absolutely tremendous in this movie. This is another Oscar I totally called this one for her. She was awesome in this movie. So old Nick comes back, little Jack's wrapped up in the rug. This is where the movie just goes completely downhill for me, because everything after this does not make sense. So of course, after I say this movie doesn't make sense, old Nick takes him. He doesn't look in the rug to make sure he's dead. He doesn't check his pulse. He does nothing. What does he do? She tells him to just bring him somewhere nice, I guess, to drop his dead body off. He just puts him in the back of his truck. He goes down the street, 3 stops. Jack gets out of the rug, jump out of the truck. His eyes, and as soon as he sees this new world, it's just like a big fog to his eyes, and he's struggling to run. Old Nick is chasing him. Like I said, at this point, this movie, it just doesn't make sense. Not all things did not make sense. Probably 80% of things did not make sense. For the sake of not spoiling this movie, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys what really happens. But this is probably the hardest movie for me to grade, because in 2 minutes, this is a perfect movie. 2 minutes later, it's not. It's horrible. It's just this movie's not long enough. This feels like a movie that's not finished. It feels like it should be 2.5 hours long. The transition. So at one point in the third act, Brie Larson, she goes away. She goes away, and Jack is there, and Jack is all to himself. Then we see the next scene. He's out going and talking. We don't know how long it has been. We don't know what triggered him to start communicating. This movie's not finished. This movie should have been longer. They make you assume, and I'm assuming that Jack is hers. We don't know that. We assume that old Nick was his father. The movie never touches on any of those things. This is the hardest movie for me to grade, because at one point, the acting in this between both of them is just tremendous. But we really don't know. It gives you just pretty much small bites. So I have to say the movie Room is a 78 out of 100. I could give it more, but don't worry, they're not in the room that long. Some people don't like movies where you're just into one space this whole time with actors. They're not in the room that long. That's why I said at one point you can call this Room. Sure, you can call this Room at one point, but in the second half of this movie, it's Jack's movie. like I said, she goes away. It's Jack's movie, and he shines every second he's in this movie. 78 out of 100. And I'm sorry, 78 out of 100. Guys, what do you think? What is your 0 through 100? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Jack Tremblay, he's gonna be amazing. He's 9 years old. You don't like most child actors in this role you would just get sick of, you would find him annoying, but he was just tremendous. And I'm interested to see where his career is gonna go. I know he's doing about 5 or 6 movies alone this year. He's a working man. Guys, I'm done here.